Verdansk is dropping in less than 2 weeks, but the question everyone's asking is, will it be good? Today, we're taking a deep dive into what needs to change before the launch to ensure Warzone's success. Just recently, Westie actually dropped a video on his channel titled Warzone has big problems to solve when Verdansk returns. And whenever I saw this, first of all, I had to hit that like button, but I wanted to go ahead and watch it with you to kind of decide whether or not he's on par, if there's more, or if maybe he's going a little overboard. Now, I haven't seen a single second of this, and I'm actually going to be watching it alongside you and seeing what he has to say together. And maybe we have the same ideas as to what needs to change, or maybe we're entirely off track on either side. So let's go ahead and take a look, starting things off right now.
As we draw closer and closer to the launch of Verdansk on April 3rd, there are still many unanswered questions surrounding the map, the update, and the content that we can expect. I've got 7 of the key questions that we're hoping to get more information on.
Now, these are key questions. He said it. Key questions. So obviously, there's a ton of things that need to change. I want to be very clear. There are about 1 billion things that need to change. And I'm going to say it off rip. Yes, the anti-cheat. Every comment section on videos like this or on tweets or anything is like, they need to address the anti-cheat situation. Yeah, that's kind of like the obvious thing. It's not the elephant in the room. We all know it needs to be changed. We need to get rid of these cheaters, right? So I'm just going to get that out of the way now. Obviously, that's going to be a topic in this video, but there's a lot more to it. There's probably things like servers. There's probably things like hit reg and stuff like that, which goes into servers. There's probably things like random bugs, dynamic lighting, things like that are making a big difference. I mean, the way that you move around a map, there's 1 billion things that need to change. But my question today is, what exactly does he think needs to change?
Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos.
Hey there, Editor Expel here, and hopefully this will be the last time you see me for a bit, because we are less than 500 subscribers away from 400,000 on the channel, and with your help, within the next 24 hours, we can start giving away some controllers, get the ball rolling on some huge content plans, and all you have to do is double check that you've hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Either way, let's get back to the video.
Of my Verdansk coverage when it kicks off in a couple of weeks' time. Will Warzone be back to its best in Verdansk? While we can all sit here and dream of the Season 3 update bringing back the most loved map Warzone has ever had, and with it the perfect storm of game features and timing, it's unlikely that this version of Verdansk will feel exactly the same to the...
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they look at Warzone 1 through rose-tinted glasses, and I think that's actually a massive problem. People have a hard time recognizing that Warzone 1 up until Season 5 sucked. And then shortly thereafter Season 5, hackers became a massive issue, to the point to where it was like, okay, what do we do? Do we even hop on to play? That's when the player base started dipping, right? That and Verdansk dropped and people literally couldn't play it on PS4 and Xbox One. But people look at Warzone 1 with rose-tinted glasses, and I swear to you, I feel like I've said this 100 billion times. It was not as good as you remember. The game was busted. There was bugs all over the place. You would pull out your gun and it would be a goddamn transformer, dude. You gotta recognize that not everything was how you remember it. What you feel for Verdansk is probably what you felt during COVID, during the pandemic, whenever you could hop on. Everybody's getting paid for free from the government. It wasn't a lot, but they were getting paid for free. So everybody would stay home, hop on, play with the boys day in, day out, hours and hours and hours, and had a great time. But the reality is that the game itself was not as good as you think it was. It was a good game. It was a fun game. But what made that was the memories you made with your friends. So to say, is it going to go back to its glory days? I think we're going to struggle to go back to the glory days because we're never going to have that early player base again. That everybody kind of sucked player base and everybody got to learn the game together. Right now, Warzone's in a different area. And you know what? I'm going to go full screen here. Let me kind of explain something to you, which is going to piss you off a little bit, but is almost the reality that we almost sank into. When Warzone 1 dropped, it was created by Infinity Ward with Raven Software's help. At Season 5, they dropped everything, moved on to Warzone 2. They started building out Warzone 2, and they handed it off to Raven Software. During that time, Raven Software made the game a million times better. I'm serious, so much better. But Infinity Ward recognized that they captured lightning in a bottle. They got lightning in a... I got lightning in a bottle. You know what I'm... Sorry, Key and Peele. But they captured lightning in a bottle. And what they wanted to do with Warzone 2 was bring back that lightning in a bottle. And us as the players had moved past that. So Infinity Ward did their best to re-innovate, to reintroduce that feeling of being new to the game. And they did that, but we hated it. I don't know if you know this. They did exactly what they set out to do. It worked exactly how they wanted it. They didn't mess up. This was on purpose. They recognized and they listened to us from saying, man, I miss how Warzone 1 was. The feeling of going back to Verdansk. Al Mazrah was even an incredible map. They did such a good job with what they set out to do. It's just that we hated it. Like, that's the reality of it. Infinity Ward put in all this work, and it took everybody back to that early feeling, but that early feeling wasn't actually what we wanted. And I'm going to stand on that. I'm going to stand on business right now, because that's the truth. Infinity Ward did what they do best, and they made a game that was slow as all shit, bro. Like, that's the truth about what Warzone 1 was when it launched. And it got fixed and made better by Raven Software when they took over. So whenever people are like, man, I want to go back to War, you had Warzone 2 and you hated it. It sucked. Now, I will say Warzone 2, like, they added in new mechanics and stuff like that, like dolphin diving, which we didn't love. Like, real, we didn't love it. Like, dolphin dive, I don't know how I feel about it now. I mean, it's definitely better now, but there's just so many things that people don't recognize that actually happen. And as somebody that does this for a living, I've had the ability, the opportunity really to sit there and listen to my audience and pay attention to how things have changed over the years, and even go back and look at certain things and my comments and see how people, I have a literal catalog of comments that I can read through, hundreds of thousands of comments that I can read through on a daily basis to see how people actually felt about the game back then. And trust me, Warzone 2 was exactly what they wanted, which is crazy. Because it sucked ass, man. It was terrible. So I apologize if that's the harsh truth for you, but they did exactly what we wanted them to do. It's just that we didn't actually know what we wanted. And so now we gotta just trust Raven to do their thing, dude. We gotta just trust them here. And if they mess it up, they mess it up. We're chalked. Like, that's all it is. But yeah, I'm gonna get some comments on that one. I know. I can already feel it, dude. I can feel it.
On March 10th, 2020. With several Call of Duty games further ahead now, each with their own flavor, strengths, and weaknesses that seemingly influence every version of Warzone that comes with it. This time around, we're operating with Black Ops 6 as the host game, and that comes with several elements that simply weren't present with the original Warzone.
Omni movement. Everybody's going to be mad about Omni movement. I'll get into that in a little bit.
With the main element for me being Omni movement.
Hot damn, Westie. Hot damn.
Personally, I'm not a fan of this element that Black Ops 6 has introduced. I don't feel as though the system has enabled the free-flowing movement that it promised during the marketing campaign, and instead it actually presents an extended subset of movements, yes, with elongated animations and interruptions as well. The game might objectively be more fluid as a result of its inclusion, but does that really translate into better and more enjoyable gameplay? I'd argue not.
I would also argue not for about 80% of the player base. And this is kind of the problem with Omni movement in its current form. And this is why I believe that he's 100% correct in the way that he phrased that. Omni movement is by far, in every capacity, in every way, from the ground up, a better version of movement. The issue is that it needs improvements, and that they've left us to deal with all the slowdowns and the interruptions like he just mentioned. Omni movement, by definition, is better for every player. You can do anything a pro player can do with ease. It is not difficult. The issue is that they don't have the settings correct. So you have to go into your settings and set it up properly, whenever by default it should be set correctly, which is what makes it worse for every single player. What you have to do is go in and change your sprint assist settings to make it work. And because those aren't on by default, it makes it terrible for like 80% of the player base that isn't actually going to go in and mess with this stuff. Like that's the crappy part. So that's a problem. There's delays when sliding and diving. Now, don't get me wrong. If you set up hybrid, it's good for sliding and diving, but there's a delay afterwards that makes it to where you can't be snappy with your movements, which makes it not feel right. And it makes you die in situations when you absolutely shouldn't. So those delays, like if they're removed or at least set to the Modern Warfare 2019 style of delays, which is very minimum, very minimum, then you'd be much better off. I don't know if you remember slide canceling, but it was a much more snappy in Modern Warfare 2019's Warzone. You could basically go stop in an instant, super quick. That's why slide canceling became very popular. You could bunny hop back then. I think if they added in bunny hop, that would be much better. But altogether, for the player base, Omni movement was a good idea. They've just failed at properly implementing it. And for players like me, that I spend an outrageous amount of time on this game. I've gotten very, very good at using hybrids so that I can slide and dive. I know how to slide backwards, slide left, slide right, dive left, dive right. I can dive through windows. I can jump and do everything that I need to do. But for the average player, it's kind of been a pain in the ass because they didn't set it up properly and they don't have time to memorize it. So what they need to do is make it easier for the average player to utilize, because it is so much better than Modern Warfare's 2019 movement, which feels slow, like you're running in quicksand or mud or something like that. So in my opinion, I think Omni movement is great. They just need to adjust it, patch it, make it to where it feels better, and definitely fix the settings, because it is so absurd to me that these settings are so ass, man. But I know a lot of people are going to feel a specific way. If you go back and you watch Modern Warfare 2019 footage and you compare it to today, there's a massive difference. Also, a ton of players from Xbox One and PlayStation 4 never played with FOV at a high rate. I remember the most common question I got during Modern Warfare 2019's Warzone was, how are you running so fast? I can only say FOV about 1 billion times before it's like, damn, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I don't know how this isn't widespread information that Call of Duty has just screwed over their player base. Most of it, at least, like the 60-70% that was on freaking console. Like, long story short, it just needs some updates and it'd be better. But the issue is I don't know if that's their priority right now. So I'm hoping that it is. But I don't know what's going to happen.
Especially with those delays that seem to be baked into the system and still haven't been removed.
Yep.
Some of you will obviously feel different to me, but one thing is for certain, Verdansk is going to play host to this movement system whether you like it or not, drastically changing how it's going to feel versus the original 2020 variant. The teaser trailer itself, whilst not being a true gameplay trailer but instead a cinematic render, does do its best to present an image of Verdansk that, at the very least, looks close to the original. Closed stadium is there, an access code for one of the bunker locations, the inclusion.
This is actually an interesting view. I don't even know where this is from that you would get this angle, to be quite honest. I don't know if anybody's actually looked at this. Because technically looking directly in, I'm sorry, I don't know if this zoom's gonna work. You can see behind the character, these are the mountains that are above the dam. So I don't really know what this view is.
Of the older Little Bird model, and even shots of the first Gulag.
Side note, that helicopter right there, it was also in the Urzikstan trailer, and in Urzikstan it doesn't exist. So no guarantee that that's coming back, but you can tell that the LTV is a Black Ops 6 LTV, which kind of sucks.
Showers being shown as well. Add to that a focus on operators wearing more grounded, military-inspired clothing.
I mean, that if you go back, realistically, exactly what he's saying. If you go back, Ghost is wearing his older outfits, right?
Military-inspired clothing.
Now, I wish the Ghost character had the scarf, the cape, the tan cape. That would have really brought me back.
Might well think that we're getting a strip.
But in the merch drop we have coming, maybe they're wearing a cape. Who knows what's going on in the dope-ass merch drop we have coming before Verdansk.
Back, more streamlined approach
it's gonna be sick.
for Verdansk. But in reality, I don't expect that to be the case. The map is being launched into an era of Call of Duty full of unicorn vomit, these outrageous outfits and garish weapon skins, which ultimately drive insane revenue for Activision. So if you think for a second that the powers that be are going to forego all of that revenue in the name of delivering an OG product, you're sadly mistaken. The trailer is one thing, the real thing is likely to be something different. Will we...
Yeah, I think that's definitely a problem, but I also think it's one of those things that we're just going to have to get used to. I think unless you hop in and you play a milsim, and Call of Duty's always been an arcade shooter, it just like it gave milsim vibes. I don't think you're ever going to see something like that again where it's only milsim characters. I think people want to buy this stuff. Like some of my higher viewed videos of the last month or two has been me doing reviews of some of these like expensive bundles. People want to know about it. They want to know if it's worth their money or if they, hey, big heads up, it's never worth your money. But people want to know it. Like I get a lot of views on those videos, which I find very interesting because I was never expecting. In fact, when we first talked about doing bundle reviews and explaining whether or not they're good, bad, worth your money, this, that, or the other thing, the conversation between myself and Axel was, we actually don't think it's going to work. We think it's going to do terrible. It's a 50-50 shot. Probably does terrible. Guess what? It's doing great. No idea how to make content these days because people do like stuff like that. So it's tough because we're never going to see that disappear. And I know that there's a large portion of the audience that would love to just have a toggle, but then it makes that toggle unfair. It's like, I don't know, man. I could explain how it's unfair, but just no, like think it all the way through before you're like, it's not unfair. I want it. Yes, of course we all want it. But if this person did it and this person didn't do it and everybody has the opportunity, blah, 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 blah. It's like saying controller's not unfair. aim assist is definitely broken.
We see a big shift in weapon balance to complement...
Actually, you know what? On that topic, you know why aim assist is so broken? Things like this. These beautiful controllers that have back paddles. All right, you keep your fingers on your buttons all the time. You got the ability to get these mouse click triggers. You can change it to regular triggers if you want. You should go to expel.gg, check it out. We've got a massive discount going on until the end of the month. If you're looking to get your own custom controller, it's going to change your game. Seriously, I got some great videos on the channel discussing aim assist, why you should be using it, and how to properly utilize it in every single situation, maximize it. So definitely go check it out. Go to expel.gg. Use code EXPEL at checkout. You can build a controller up to $450. Use code EXPEL and it'll knock it down no matter what until the end of the month to $209. I don't know if you know that. That's a $200 discount, 240 bucks. Now, obviously, I'm not going to tell you to put everything on it, but you could. It's possible. Anyway,
Verdansk's launch. We're going to see 3 weapons from the original Verdansk era return in Season 3 with the launch of the map.
We talking HDR, AMAX, and Growl.
The Kilo 141, the
Kilo. I'll take it.
CR56 AMAX, and the HDR.
All right. I was close. Damn, I was hoping for the Growl.
2 assault rifles and a sniper rifle. We already know that Call of Duty loves to massively buff the new weapons added each season to make them the most competitive in the meta, forcing people to shift their loadout preferences to incorporate them, and I don't expect anything different to happen here.
Which really sucks, by the way, but it's kind of funny because recently I don't know if Westie actually tries a lot of it. He's saying this, and I don't know if Westie plays as much as he used to. I think he plays a lot of other games, but recently with every weapon they add in, they kind of suck dick, bro. Like, they're terrible. So I don't know if you've tried the Dissector. It is horrendous. That thing is terrible. I don't know what the other gun was that came at the same time. Also not good. The Fang, mid-tier as hell whenever it first came out. There's just so many weapons that actually suck now when they drop, and I think they're trying to appease us in that capacity, or Raven is actively like throwing them in at a specific place in the meta. But it's not as bad as it used to be. I'll definitely say that. It's way better than we used to have to deal with.
They're going to draw on the nostalgic feeling of using those weapons again.
I would love, by the way, to bring back playlists like Warzone Rumble. That was sick.
And deliver probably meta-leading stats for the two assault rifles, allowing them to dominate at the beginning of Season 3.
I don't
think so. The sniper, the HDR, I think that's going to be handled a little bit differently from its original form. Which
we will tell you first day on second channel Expel Plus. Make sure to go subscribe to second channel Expel Plus, because over there we're dropping video on video on video explaining these weapons to you the first day. Okay, so definitely be there.
If you remember, was perhaps the greatest sniper you could use in Warzone. Fastest bullet velocity at around 1200 meters per second, a decent rechamber speed, decent ADS speed, and the killer feature, literally, a one-shot headshot at any range. No limit whatsoever. That's how it was at the beginning of Warzone. Now, in today's Warzone climate, we don't have all sniper rifles sitting as one-shot headshots at any range.
I think that's an absolute L. I'll probably hit it after he hits it, but I think that's an absolute L, and it's the worst thing that's happened to Warzone. I know that sounds crazy, but I think that removing one-shot snipers has changed the way the game plays, and it's made it 10 times more boring. It's ruined the experience for a lot of the campers and stuff like that, which is crazy that I'd be trying to help them, but I'm telling you, I think it's bad.
Developers at the end of the Caldera days introduced a new system whereby some sniper rifles and marksman rifles had their one-shot headshot range restricted to balance that power output against other statistics.
Now, I do think that was not necessarily something that should have made it into the game. I think that that's a mechanic that should absolutely be within the ranked mode, and they can do that. They have shown that they can do that, but to put that into the regular game is the most dumb shit I have ever heard in my life, and that is an L that Raven Software is going to have to deal with, because one-shot snipers are what made Warzone feel like your life, and the way that you played needed to be treated a specific way. Right? Because you would hop in and you could not stand still at all. Now you hop in, you can, I will literally stand at the edge of a building sometimes in Warzone and wait until someone shoots me because I need to know where they're at. And if I stand still, I know I'm not going to get knocked. I can just stand there, stand on the edge of the building like this. And then all of a sudden I get popped in the head. I'm 1 HP. We know where the guy's at. We full send him. It is not a good mechanic. Your life should mean something in Warzone. And we're going to probably talk about that more in a minute, but that is my big issue, is that snipers being one shot meant that you had to play a specific way and you had to be a better and more aware player, and you don't have to do that now.
So for example, the Kar 98 with the right attachments right now has a limited one-shot headshot range of around 85, 86 meters. What? And that's to balance it against its faster rechamber speed, faster movement speed, and faster reload speed. However, I feel as though the HDR will return to Warzone and Verdansk in its former glory with just a couple of tweaks, taking up the position of a true one-shot headshot sniper rifle. My reasoning for this?
Well, to be fair, the Cat AMR is currently.
At the end of the Caldera days, when those limitations were first introduced for sniper rifles, the HDR was one of the few snipers that actually retained its one-shot headshot potential, owing to the fact that it had already a slower movement speed, slower rechamber speed, reload speed, and ADS speed compared to other weapons that had since been added to the game. Another weapon highlighted in the trailer was the M4A1, seen a few times in the hands of operators. I'm expecting that to also receive a significant buff for Season 3 to bring it right up to the top of the pecking order.
I disagree.
That means the MW2 gun that is currently available in the Black Ops 6 version of Warzone may well become meta.
I think they're gonna miss that entirely. Like, I do not think that's gonna happen. It'd be cool, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Something we've not seen for a long time. The M4A1 was actually the first meta weapon of Warzone back in 2020.
But to be fair, it wasn't actually meta. Everybody just used it.
People were pairing it with the RPG as a secondary during those first few weeks. The shake-up of the weapon balance is going to be interesting to watch, seeing just how far developers go to try and deliver that OG feeling that players are clearly craving. And we didn't even mention tacticals, lethals, and perks as well. I'm expecting to see a...
Oh my god, if they bring back thermites, dude, oh, I would be so pumped. Oh my god, it could be so nice if they brought back thermites. That honestly... I miss thermites so bad. God, just a part of my soul was ripped out when they removed it. It just... Please bring back thermites.
Lot of changes on April 3rd. Will the Ricochet anti-cheat be ready for Verdansk's return? Let's be brutally honest.
I'm going to have a lot to say on this one, and there's quite a few reasons for it, but there's a lot of things past the anti-cheat that need to be fixed that make people feel like people are cheating. So we'll get into that when he hits the end of this.
Here, Ricochet has been the laughingstock of the gaming world for some time now. The last time I can truly remember it working well was Seasons 1 and 2 of Modern Warfare 3, and that was over a year ago. Since then, and many periods before that, it's been about as effective as a chocolate fireguard. Cheaters plagued the original version of Verdansk, and that situation was the key driver for Call of Duty introducing the Ricochet anti-cheat in the first place, promising to stamp out the bad actors and police the game mode in a more effective manner. However, if recent performance is anything to go by, I think Ricochet is going to have a difficult time convincing even the most ardent and enthusiastic Warzone fans that it's going to be effective against the cheater tidal wave that is sure to swirl up when Verdansk appears again on.
So, a few things. One, clearly they've been sending like cease and desists to a bunch of different companies. Those companies are going to just turn into other companies. That's kind of the whole point of building out an LLC, is that you can just dissolve that puppy and move on to the next. It sucks. But it is something that they can do. When you have a limited liability company, the liability doesn't fall on the individual, it falls on the company itself. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't know everything about all this, but the point is, that's what's going to happen, right? So there's a lot of companies that have gone under recently. I'm not going to name off these companies. I've talked about them in specific videos in the past, but that is something that's going to happen, and so we're going to see these companies popping back up. Supposedly, they've been holding back a specific update for the anti-cheat and not mentioning it to people because they believe that it's actually going to be good. My honest opinion is that they need to stop heavily relying on AI. AI is supposed to be a game changer and stuff like that, but they clearly do not have anything good for their own personal AI because it's not doing anything. Now, clearly, yes, machine learning is a certain form of AI, but I believe most of it is fully focused on machine learning, which means that it's going in and it's learning how it's all working and it's trying to implement that, but it has specific parameters that's holding it back, most likely because if it actually does the things that the parameters are not holding, or if it does the things that the parameters are holding it back from currently, then it would probably start banning a bunch of innocent players. So I think that right now we're going to be seeing a not great update for the anti-cheat. I don't think it's going to make a massive difference. But one thing that I do think would make a massive difference is if they fix something that is probably completely based on the current engine, the IW9 engine, which we were on IW8 for Modern Warfare 2019. So the engine that came with Warzone 2, or the update to the engine that came with Warzone 2, I think actually broke a lot of things that made it easier to see if someone was or wasn't cheating. So the question is, what's broken? So if you're to go in and try at least this is the thing that I kind of want to cover. Obviously there's a billion things broken, but the thing that I want to cover is basically spectating and kill cams. This is, I need to just get this out there because I hear it 24/7 that they're completely fine. You're gaslighting people. No, I don't think you understand. In spectating and kill cams, it is all messed up. There's literally like 12 things that do not work from the spectator / the viewer side or the kill cam watcher side that is completely fine on the person that's playing side. So one, if you're spectating or you're watching a kill cam, shots don't line up. Two, adjusting aim often looks like you're snapping for the spectator, even if it's way slower on your screen. In fact, I've seen this multiple times and even showcased the difference in some of my videos. Minimaps don't properly indicate shooting or UAVs. Compasses also don't properly indicate shooting or UAVs. Perks don't show up for spectators. Awareness and high alert indicators don't show up for spectators. Inventory items may be completely incorrect at times or just not be filled up to where it should be. Recoil doesn't show up pretty often unless it's a very bad build. Visual recoil simply does not exist. There's often not smoke, like visual smoke on the spectator screen. And lastly, audio is completely different, often entirely incorrect. So those things alone make players that don't realize all these bugs exist within Call of Duty, it makes them believe that every single player is cheating. They're all cheating. Everybody's cheating. We're all cheating here. Hey, everybody's cheating. When even though that's like not the case at all. Every single time they watch a kill cam, they see people that do things that are completely inhuman. And the issue is it has nothing to do with whether or not the human behind the screen is actually doing those things, because it's all just a recreation. And in this current state of the IW9 build, the engine build, it's just broken. It's broken, and it's ruining the way people see other people. So they just report everybody. So even if they were to completely fix cheating, even if it was completely fixed, everybody would still believe that everybody else was cheating because of this stupid problem. Because the way that people decide if somebody else is cheating is they literally watch the kill cam and they spectate. Those are the two things. So if they're making their decisions based on two things that are completely busted, that do not work in the slightest, what the hell are we to do? So that is one thing that alongside this massive update, I personally believe needs a huge adjustment. And I have said this on repeat every single time I spectate somebody. In fact, I've made full videos talking about streamers and like people that are specifically believed to be cheating. And it's not in defense of them. It's me trying to explain the game sense that goes into each moment, explain the differences between us spectating and us and the person playing. And every single time I do, no matter what, there's always like 100 comments on those videos. Like, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And for sure, it's something like, oh, look, their bullets don't line up. It's like, yeah, of course they don't, because spectating's broken. Oh, there was no one on the minimap. How'd he know? Well, seeing as he popped a UAV 10 seconds ago, but nobody's popping up, I wonder if maybe it could be because it's busted. Oh, but there was no audio for that guy on the left. Yeah, because we can't hear the same things that they can hear. Everything is broken. Oh, he had no recoil. Yeah, it's because spectating's broken. Man, I wish my shots aimed like that. Brother, it's spectating. Like, that's how it feels every time I spectate somebody, because people just don't know. So when the whole world doesn't know this issue with spectating and it's not fixed, it leads us to a very terrible situation where we're pretty much screwed unless they fix it, because everybody's just going to believe that everybody's cheating, even if everybody's not cheating. In fact, I would go as far to say that cheating is not as bad of a problem as we believe it is, at least not on the aimbot scale. Stuff like that, I simply don't believe is as bad as people say. Things like Cronus and like soft hacks and stuff like that, for sure. I think that stuff, probably like 15% of players are doing it across the board. PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X, S, whatever the hell they do over there at X. I don't know. I just work here. All of that. And PC. I think soft hacks and people hiding it, that exists. But I think aimbot, it's not as bad as we think it is. And people are out here just making a big deal about it when it's actually not happening. It's just a broken system. Sorry. That was my spiel for the day. I apologize. I know it was a lot, but let's keep going.
April 3rd. With it being the most popular Warzone map and it holding so many special memories for players, Verdansk is almost guaranteed to bring back casual and more dedicated players. And this, unfortunately, will also mean a rise in cheater numbers looking to exploit the game, especially early on when the Season 3 patch rolls out. History has shown that with most major updates to Warzone, the Ricochet team is able to put up blockers and create systems that stop cheat software working initially, but often the cheat creators themselves are able to react just as fast and will create workarounds and negate the walls that are being put up to try and stop them.
Yeah.
And since Warzone is free to play, cheaters that are banned can very easily create new accounts and start right back up again at a moment's notice.
Yep.
Verdansk had some of the worst cheating problems in gaming history back during 2020 and 2021. So with its return, many cheaters are going to see their own chance to relive their glory days, essentially, rage hacking on entire lobbies and ruining matches for everyone else. If Ricochet isn't aggressively updated, we could be right back where we started. For their part, Ricochet has committed to extensive updates to the anti-cheat for Warzone. In a recent blog post, the dev stated that during Season 2, which is active right now, there would be a new client and server-side detection enabled, a major kernel-level driver was being updated, with improvements to security of that driver and new encryption processes, as well as a new tampering detection system going live. And for Season 3, the launch of Verdansk, we would get even more new processes being introduced, including a system to authenticate legit players and target cheaters.
I almost wonder why they don't just like force a specific mode on people's PCs. Like, why don't they do like a game mode or whatever the hell it's called on Windows PC so that people can't do stuff like this? Why don't they just drop support for things like Linux? I just don't get it, because I don't think Linux users probably become a large part of the, maybe I'm correct, maybe I don't know anything about what I'm talking about, but like, why don't they do something like that? If anybody has an explanation for that, I'd love to know in a comment down below, because I hear this all the time and I feel like it's one of the best options that we have to fix that at large.
Although, as we come to expect from Ricochet, they're not going into any further detail so that cheat developers themselves can't get ahead of the game.
I don't even think Ricochet exists, to be quite honest. I really don't.
Personally, I'm not holding out much hope for Ricochet when Verdansk goes live. I don't know if it's going to be able to handle the levels of cheaters, simply due to the rising player numbers. More players, more cheaters by percentage. But who knows? They might pull off a win and have their situation on lockdown. Let's wait and see. Will Call of Duty's server performance hold up?
Holy moly. Dude, people, this is one of those things that people are constantly like, yo, Expel, why don't you talk about this? Because I've made 87 videos about it. I don't know what else to do at this point. They've actually changed a lot of things, and we'll probably get into that whenever he starts covering a lot of the server performance stuff.
As with the cheating issue that we just spoke about, a massive rise in player numbers is going to place strain on many of the underlying Warzone systems. Server performance is an area where I feel Call of Duty has made some solid strides recently, but with Verdansk returning, we are likely to see a huge influx of returning players that could overload the servers initially. Laggy gameplay and server disconnects aren't what you want to see, but it could be a very real issue, especially in the first few days. Without significant infrastructure overhauls, we're at threat of seeing the same issues that we've seen for other highly anticipated updates in Warzone's history. With server tick rates still sitting around 20 to 30 Hz, a criminally low rate considering the status of the game, I don't anticipate seeing a great improvement in gameplay responsiveness from the level that we currently deal with.
So, for those of you that don't know what tick rate is, it's basically how fast information gets from you to the server, or how often information goes from you to the server and back to you. It's similar to ping. Like, I'm not saying it is ping. It's similar to ping because it's literally like your connection back and forth and the speed at which information is provided. And the issue with having the tick rate the way that it is because the server kind of has to make shit up. If you have a really low tick rate, what's happening is that it'll assume like the in-between. So let's say let's say that you are sending information you have 60 frames. Okay, this is the best way I can put it. You got 60 frames in a game. You have 60 frames of sending this information to them. And then you can't actually send all 60. You only send 20. So one of or two of three of those frames just don't exist for the server. This is not the exact specifics of how it works. I know somebody's going to hop in the comments and be like, that's not how it works. This is the best way I can explain to a casual viewer. So it is trying to receive and send back information. It has to make assumptions of those 2 out of 3 frames and send it back. So it makes that decision, sends it back. And that's why sometimes when you're all the way around a corner, you'll get shot because Call of Duty assumed that those shots were going to hit, even though they didn't. So it just has to make these assumptions on a certain percentage of your playing, basically. And so it'll try and give the person that's shooting the advantage in most situations. I think that's how Call of Duty servers are set up. So that's why a lot of the times you'll get issues like that specifically. There's a lot of systems within Call of Duty that work similarly, that are just slow as all hell. But tick rate is one of those that people bring up a lot, and it does make a massive difference because the speed at which information goes back and forth to you and the server and how much information is shared makes a big difference. But the reason that it is the way that it is because they actually just have really crap servers. They try and run multiple instances on one server, and that can cause issues as well. So I don't know if they're going to upgrade, which I seriously doubt. That, I mean, the likelihood is very slim, but it would be great if we could get 60 tick rate servers for Warzone. I mean, I'd take 40. Like this, anything above 20 would be better and would make the game feel significantly better.
Which probably means plenty of ghost bullets, plenty of super bullets, desync, and generally unfair gunfights if the servers are having problems. However, that would allow this version of Verdansk to closely match the original. Oh, that's not the type of OG experience you were looking for? Sorry, my bad.
Sure.
I'm now conditioned to a certain experience with Warzone servers. They will wet the bed from time to time, but largely they work okay. As long as we don't see major login and matchmaking issues when Verdansk launches, I think we're going to be fine. Do I wish we were getting 60Hz tick rate servers for a better overall experience? Absolutely. Yes, of course. But I've come to realize that that simply is not going to happen. A smooth launch when it comes to server stability, and I'll consider that a major win for Verdansk and Warzone.
Now, before we dive into the next one thing I would like to note, he said that they were taking strides to improve the servers, and they really are. Obviously, things feel a lot better than they did when Black Ops 6 launched. We know that there was a massive fiasco with the way that the game felt when it launched. I mean, a lot of stuff did not feel right in the game. You would shoot, literally get a hit marker, and it wouldn't connect. Or you'd shoot, hit the enemy, see the blood splatter, but not get a hit marker. And it's like, what the hell is going on? So there were a lot of issues like that. But what they've been doing lately, if you've ever played Minecraft, you probably know what this is. But you know how recently your weapons have all of a sudden been disappearing off the ground much faster? The reason why is because they clean up the entities on the ground much faster. So every item in the game takes up a certain amount of space of memory of performance, right? Because the game has to memorize where every single item is on the ground and how it works and what that item is and all the characteristics of the item, this, that, and the other thing. So it does all of that. But with us having 150 players in the game, everybody's loot slaps the ground. So you'll notice in the earlier game, earlier in the match, stuff will disappear much faster. But as you reach the end of the match, when there's less players, stuff will start disappearing much less fast and much less quickly. But the reason why is because they're starting to clean up those entities. That's what they're called. They're starting to clean up those entities faster so that we don't get as much lag. And a good example of this is when loadouts dropped in for quite some time, you would notice that the game would lag. It would get worse. When you get a restock, every single time you get a restock, the game lags. I don't know if you noticed that. That is a thing that happens. Every single time a restock event happens, you will get a lag spike. And the reason why is because the server has to refill all these things. And those are a bunch of entities that have to reset. So when that happens, you'll get lag. And they've been trying their best to clean up things like that to alleviate all the problems that we have in the game. And it's led to much more stable servers. I got to say, if I'm going to give a W, that's the W I'll give. They have properly started cleaning stuff up. Sure, it doesn't feel great when you're coming back and your guns are gone, but it's just one of those things that we're going to have to get used to because we knew that it was eventually going to happen. It just sucks that they had to build it out this way because of the crappy servers. It would be better if that stuff stayed on the ground for a lot longer. But I did want to kind of take a second to recognize that they are going out of their way to maximize every single opportunity that they have to fix these servers.
Will certain gameplay mechanics be changed for Verdansk, or will Verdansk be changed for them? As I mentioned a little bit earlier, there are several gameplay mechanics that will greatly change how Verdansk is perceived by players when it launches on April 3rd. I've considered a few of them, and I wanted to highlight them as potential issues that will likely already be decided on by the development team. I mean, we're only 2 weeks away, but they're worth highlighting for us players so that we have that in mind when we first play the map. Movement mechanics like Omni movement will no doubt be present on Verdansk, making movement decidedly different from the original back in 2020.
And again, I think it's a good thing. I think they just need to change a few things to make it work for everyone.
However, will the map itself have been tweaked or changed with those extended movement mechanisms in mind? I think I'm right in saying that we now have an overall faster sprint speed, longer attack sprint duration with gameplay elements that even enable it permanently, and faster mantling and climbing. Modern Warfare 2019 favored a slightly more methodical approach to movement, which was reflected in Verdansk's original design. Is Verdansk going to work very well with the current movement set that we have from Black Ops 6? Keep that in mind.
You know, I gotta say that, yes, you are faster, but the way that Verdansk itself was built, it made no difference, the speed of your movement. And the reason why is because there's a lot of open spaces, but in those open spaces, which is what I love about Verdansk and what I hate about Urzikstan, is in those open spaces, aside from when you're leaving airport or whatever it's called, there's always cover. There's always cover. There's a tree. There's like 80 trees. There's a bunch of bushes. There's cliffs. There's a lot of natural cover that exists within that. Instead, in our current iteration of Warzone within Urzikstan, there's only buildings, and everywhere else you just have to run out in the open. So that's the reason. Stuff like that is the reason that RDBs and redeploy drones, basically, the reason that those exist. Because of how frustrating the map is to navigate on foot. So if they make it, regardless of the movement, the exact same as it was in Verdansk originally, we shouldn't really have a big issue with movement. I don't think that that's going to make a big difference in the way that the map is played in general. I think it'll probably be just fine. If anything, like, it might actually feel much better. I know that sounds goofy, but I think it might actually feel better. What I'd love to see is they get rid of the RDBs, get rid of portable recon or portable drones in general. No RDB, no PRD, no nothing. We have in good zip lines. We have maybe a couple of redeploy drones at the edge of the map. That's it. Make it very easy to shoot down, stuff like that, to where it makes it more tactical and you can't just go and buy it. I know a lot of people have an opposite feeling about that, but I think that that would make the game feel much better and just allow you to rotate the way you would normally, but have very few in very specific places that will, I don't know, maybe it's places without vehicles that will allow you to maneuver yourself to a different part of the map a little bit faster. But I don't want to see RDBs everywhere. I don't want to see PRDs popping out of boxes. I don't want to see RDBs popping out of boxes. That is not something that I want to see. In fact, I want to see a buff to vehicles, but I also want to see a buff to explosives versus vehicles. So those two things I think would be great.
The time to kill, or TTK, we experienced at the very beginning of Warzone in 2020 was longer than what it is today. Verdansk itself was designed for it, with a fair few more open spaces and sparsely covered open ground compared to more recent maps like Urzikstan and Al Mazrah.
Yeah.
Introducing Black Ops 6's faster, more lethal TTK into a map designed for a slower one could lead to a myriad of issues in gunfights where you're expecting to be able to survive. This could lead to more players being wiped out sooner in matches rather than them surviving later on into other circles, less of an emphasis on movement-based plays because you're not going to be able to tank damage in the way that you used to.
That's not going to change. We have found the sweet spot. Just to be clear, they're not going to reset all the way. If they change this, I will eat my words. I want to be very clear. I'm not going to be bothered one way or the other. I'm going to play it, you know. But I do not see them making health less. Realistically, that is not something that would make sense in the slightest, because everyone's used to it. It still feels like kind of perfect right now. This was something that it took a long time to figure out, and now they kind of found the sweet spot. And we're sticking with it. No, I feel like no one is really whining about the time to kill one way or the other. Oh, I die too fast. I die too slow. Like, I think it's fine. There's no reason to change that whenever everything's working just fine.
Or even a strong meta shift towards positioning being the most critical element in the game.
And the reason I think that will happen is if we get one-shot snipers, we lower PRDs, we force vehicles, and we increase the ability to blow things up. That is exactly how we force positioning. We get rid of specialists. We get rid of multiple lives aside from like gulag and buyback, right? So you have one gulag token and you can buy back your team as much as you want. But across the board, we get rid of everything else. I don't want to see redeployed tokens. I don't want to see gulag tokens. I don't want to see flares. None of that crap. I don't want any of it. Get it out of the game. Because we need to put a big focus on playing better. It is not fun to hop in and play big map like it's Resurgence. That's not the reason we played the game. We played the game back in the day because it gave you that exhilarating feeling at the end of the match whenever you got a win and you had to work your ass off for it. And I'm not saying, oh, I want to fight the sweatiest players in the world that are the best, because skill-based matchmaking is ass. But I do love that feeling where I had to make a smarter play than the next guy. And right now, it doesn't matter. You can just land on everybody.
I'd argue positioning is always a strong variable in Battle Royales anyway.
Of course.
But with more lethal TTK, if you're not covered sufficiently or holding high ground, you're going to be on the receiving end of severe pain. Classic POIs like Superstore, ATC, downtown rooftops, promenades, they're all going to be returning in Verdansk, which I cannot wait for. But since Verdansk was taken away from us, we've seen a vast improvement in methods of access within Warzone. I'm talking about the implementation of various zip lines up to rooftops that have now become standard, and the additions of redeploy drones that have massively changed how players are able to gain height and power positions across different maps. Those previous POIs and areas that were considered essential to winning matches if the final circles ended there may no longer be as powerful as they once were. Are we going to see downtown buildings littered with zip lines so you can more easily access them, which takes away their power?
I think that downtown would be an area that could use an RDB. I think that is like the one situation where you need an RDB is like, okay, he can zip up, right? Like that's kind of the one thing. Maybe like one RDB smack dab in the center. The second you get there, you shoot that puppy down. If you don't shoot it down, the likelihood you die. I think that would be a great thing for people to do. That Raven could do to improve the flow of downtown, because downtown, you know, like when you're playing, you just dodge it. Like I would not, like if you ever go back and watch my Verdansk videos, I didn't go to downtown. Dude, I dodged that for the life of me. The only reason I went to downtown is because the circle ended there. That's it. That's it. You would never see me go there because I hated that area. It sucked, bro. I would land abstinence and rotate all the way the other direction. Would not do it. Not my thing. Not interested in it. I only did it if I absolutely had to. And that's what made a big difference in the gameplay back then, is you'd have to dodge those areas. So if they add in something like a zip line, maybe smack dab in the center so that you can launch at things, that would be fine. But in other areas, I don't want to see it. Things that improve gameplay, improve the flow of the game, I think those are good. But I don't think that having them just willy-nilly across the map, purchasable, stuff like that is going to be great.
Will ATC have more than one route up to the top of it?
For the love of God, yes.
Not counting an aggressive chopper dismount through the side windows.
I do kind of, I do miss that though. Yeah.
This all remains to be seen. And are vehicles going to be as strong as they were originally on Verdansk? Pretty much since the map was removed back in 2021 with the introduction of Caldera, vehicles were nerfed into the ground and got massively deprioritized in the gameplay loop in favor of redeploy balloons or drones. I was never a fan of this change initially, and it's now robbed us of one of the core features of OG Warzone: rolling around in vehicles to move from point to point, chasing down enemy players and teams, and repositioning closer to the circle collapse later on in games.
Oh God, him saying that out loud, I miss vehicle. I just started thinking in my head, like, I don't know if y'all did this back in the day in Verdansk, but I just started thinking about hopping in a Jeep, driving around with the boys, blaring music that you got out of a bundle, and just like listening to Snoop. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just rolling through and just blaring music. You roll up on stuff, and then like you hop out and everybody's like, ah! Like everybody's shooting at the same time. God, vehicles were so good back in the day, and they were so fun, and it really was a core gameplay mechanic. Now, as somebody that tried to give tips and tricks, frankly, I told people to not hop in those if you're trying to get a win, because it's the easiest way to give away your position. But it doesn't mean that if you're playing with your boys, you kind of want to hop in and roll around. But it is the fastest way to get eliminations. You got to be good. It is what it is. But I would love to see vehicles return to their former glory, as I keep saying, on repeat.
Personally, I hope we see Verdansk without redeploy drones at all, and the focus is shifted back towards using vehicles to traverse the map and outrun the gas. And with it, I hope all of the vehicles have been overhauled in terms of their handling to make them way more fun to use. It was far more satisfying a gameplay loop fighting it out on the ground with other players versus getting dinked by a sniper, whipping out a balloon and flying away at the speed of light to another rooftop. It just becomes boring.
Yeah, exactly. I think the gameplay loop right now is kind of boring. And I will note, as someone that plays this daily, one comment that I get a lot is, hey, why do you do the same thing every game? Right? Why is it that you land Old Town, you do a signal contract, you do a most wanted contract or a bounty contract, you immediately go and grab your guns, you work your way up to getting a bunch of UAVs, and you fly at everybody around the map? Why do you do that exact same thing every time? Now, don't get me wrong, I probably do a similar thing in Verdansk, but the reason why I do the exact same thing every time is because that's the gameplay loop to maximize. And I think if they force you out of that gameplay loop and have you have to do different things, then that would make the game a different experience every single time. And right now, we just don't have that. That different experience every single time doesn't happen because you literally drop in and do the exact same thing to get the exact same guns every single game. And then you fly at people with an RDB. And it's great if you're trying to maximize your kills, like I said. But I don't want to have to do the same thing every time. And I know that my audience doesn't want to see me do the same thing every time. I think it make a big difference in the way that it feels. It would feel much more fresh every game that you play.
We lost some of that charm, and I hope we get that back on April 3rd. The addition of the old school little bird in the trailer is giving me some of the hope that that's the case.
Again, it was in the Urzikstan trailer. That's the bad part, is that we just don't know.
Will Verdansk remain static after Season 3, or will it get updated?
This has actually already been answered. They're gonna rapid speed some updates for every season. So they I don't even know if it's worth it to actually have this conversation, but basically what we know right now, and maybe he's gonna hit this a little bit, but basically what we know right now is the plan. Currently, train station is closed, which seems unnecessary knowing that they probably already built it out. The reason why is because they've already built out all the updates, is my guess, or they're like finalizing them, because they've been working on Verdansk for a lot longer than you realize. I mean, like probably 1 to 2 years, and that's why we're in the situation that we're in. Their plan is to rapid speed everything through the seasons. So that way we're getting the stuff that we've been asking for. So I don't know if you know this, but I've been saying, hey, we need to get big changes going a lot more often. So we're going to get early map, stadium open, not blown up. Then we're probably going to get train station opening. Then we're probably going to get like the map change to Cold War, and like a bunch of different things are going to happen. So we're going to see these big changes happening over and over and over because they already know what the next natural step is. Instead of having to innovate, they already have it in front of them. So they can just do that. Now they can't innovate on top of it, which I think would be cool. But that's what I'm expecting. And the reason I think that is because we've heard it on repeat that this is the idea. I don't know if this information was out before Westie made this video. The video is 8 days old currently. But I know that I've been hearing that a lot.
If you remember back to Modern Warfare 2019, Verdansk being added became a major story element for the seasonal updates within that game, with various cinematics and changes being applied to the map. Stadium and train station were opened up, the activation of the bunkers, which tied directly into the storyline for Task Force 141, the addition of the train that moved around the map, the metro stations, and even the smaller facelifts and updated little POIs that we got in Seasons 4, 5, and 6, they played a part in Verdansk arguably getting better and better over time. According to renowned Call of Duty leaker Ghost of Hope, Verdansk map updates, both new and returning, are planned throughout the Black Ops 6 seasons, and potentially beyond those seasons to keep people interested and engaged. The map is not going to stay the same as the OG March 2020 version forever.
It's not even the OG 2020 March, whatever the hell he just said, version.
Which is just music to my ears. I've stated multiple times that Season 5 Stadium opening, that was peak Warzone. The mode pretty much started on a downhill trajectory from that point in terms of planning, implementation, and handling. I hope we see the return of some of the bunker storyline, the stadium being opened up in a later season, train station being fleshed out and changed.
That's one thing that I want to see, is I just want some goddamn lore. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't somebody that like looked into it while it was happening, but I feel like that just like connects people to the game. I don't know if you know this, but storytelling is literally what makes the world go round. That's the whole reason we care about things, is it comes down to people's ability to tell a story and make an audience connect with something. And that's the reason we love certain people and celebrities so much, is because they are always very good at telling stories. And I'm not saying you should love celebrities by any means, because, you know what? I'm not going to get into it. But the point is the ability to tell a story matters a lot, and we don't have a story right now. We were supposed to. If you watch the recent Season 3 trailer, or Season 2 trailer for, which has me messed up, but if you watch the Season 2 trailer for Warzone, it mentioned Avalon. It said, to a new Avalon. And so we were supposed to get Avalon with Season 1 of Black Ops 6, but we didn't get it because they forewent it. So, forewent? Is that a thing? So they planned some kind of story, and it sucks that we didn't get it. So I'm hoping we get those story elements, and it gives the opportunity for us to really start connecting with the game again, because it's something that we haven't had for a long time, at least that made sense in a long time.
And other various tweaks and changes to keep gameplay interesting and fresh after such a long time of the map being away from our screens. Will Verdansk truly be a different experience, or will it feel like a relic from the past? This one is really difficult to answer, but you can be sure within a few days, players are gonna know. Those first few drops onto the map in your favorite POIs are gonna determine for you if this version of Verdansk is worth your time. Personally, I don't think it's gonna be the fix-all solution to Warzone's problems. There are several underlying core issues that need to be addressed before Warzone can actually push forward from this position, and those only come from major upgrades and system overhauls, which are unlikely to occur at this particular point in time. And don't forget, that's no guarantee they get it right. Remember,
I'm gonna end his video there because I kind of want to dive into this myself just for like 2 minutes. I think truly it may be just what we need. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but I think giving people the opportunity to bathe in their nostalgia, that's what people want, man. I don't know if you've watched the like Fortnite numbers skyrocket over and over and over because of their OG seasons that they keep bringing back, even though they for sure could come up with new stuff, and they do. They keep bringing back old things because that's what some people want. They want to live through that. I mean, as an example, my dad, when I was growing up, he used to watch old episodes of Star Trek. And I asked him one day, I was like, why is it that you watch these? And point blank, it was because he liked being able to relive his childhood and feel what he felt in the moment of watching it for the first time. And now I get that because I go back and I watch Marvel Phase 1, 2, and 3 on repeat. So I think this is going to be something that a lot of people need. Do I think that Verdansk is a good map? It's better than Urzikstan. I think Verdansk is better than Urzikstan. I think Al-Mazrah was a great map. I think Caldera without Peak would have been a decent map had they like kind of moved the POIs a little bit. I think they've built a few opportunities here, but I think Verdansk and the way that it made people feel is going to be enough in a lot of scenarios, like for a lot of people, to make them stick around. I just think that if they don't fix the anti-cheat, and they don't fix a lot of the underlying issues with things like spectating and engine. I think it was a dumbass idea to not fix the engine before they fixed Verdansk. That is what I'll say. And I think that and bugs, random bugs, is going to kill it. If it dies, that's why it's going to be dead. It's not going to be because of nostalgia not being enough. It's literally just based on the fact that it's going to be mistakes and bugs and things like that. Because the issue is, every single time there's an update, it sounds good. And when people play it, because there's been creators apparently that went and I did not. Point blank, I did not. I also just don't get invited to events. I asked about it recently and got unfollowed by someone that works at Call of Duty that I asked about. I asked and they unfollowed me point blank. And I was like, okay, all right, that makes sense. That is funny. I want to see this game succeed. I think it has a big opportunity, but people play it early and they say it's great. And then when it comes out, it drops, it hits those servers, and something happens with the servers where it breaks the game. And I'm hoping that the things that they've done to fix the servers make it where these updates actually work. Because if they don't work, what's the point? But either way, I want to know your comments down below. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear all the nitty gritty details on why you're excited or why you're not. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Make sure, check out the Expel AIM controllers, Expel Pro controllers right here. Yep. Expel.gg, use code Expel, massive discounts, and subscribe to the channel. We have so many plans. I don't think y'all understand. It is going to be a good year, even if Verdansk ends up sucking. So regardless of whether you play, subscribe to the goddamn channel because you're going to love it here.